we're gonna get into the last meaty piece coming up here, because I'm gonna talk a little bit about the world of AEO, GEO, search engine optimization, the whole search everywhere, whatever you want to call it, and AI in particular. I think it's really important that we go there. But in a spirit of a little fun, we are recording this in mid-July. I can remember when I was younger and cooler and actually had a sense of pop culture, I was always like wondering, what was a song in the summer going to be? Like, what's that it vibe? I can tell you, when I was at my 10-year college reunion, we went back to the bars at Villanova, and the song in the summer was Call Me Maybe.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking about that. You couldn't escape it.
So
I loved it, by the way.
My 3-year-old niece sings that song.
Yeah.
Please tell me we're singing, Michele.
Yes.
Take us off.
And so
Call me baby.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's something catching. So I want to know, we're all at different points in our career now. We're obviously more than a minute away from high school or college where that was important. Do you guys you ladies have a song of the summer? Is there anything that's been hitting home for you, or do you have a classic memory of what that was? Like when, again, I can think back, high school, getting ready for, going out after school, after, spring sports practice, and we'd all be rolling down our windows blasting Sugar Ray. So come on, we all have those songs, right? And
well, I can tell you, my husband and I are music snobs. Like, we love exploring new music. There's a bunch of bands that have been coming out with some stuff. We go to these small venues, shows, and I know for certain that we missed this one concert because of lots of different reasons that we were going to go to in Philly that was featuring these two bands that we love. And I know they're going to be huge in probably the next 6 to 12 months. But if you know Joe Keery, anybody watch Stranger Things? Yes. Stranger Things. Joe Keery plays Steve. His band is called Joe, or DJO. And they just came out with an album a few months ago. It's called The Crux, and it's an amazing album. It pulls from all of these influences. Like he said, I went back and I was listening to my dad's music, like Rick Springfield and like old 80s stuff. And you can hear it. It's right in there. And I think that one of the Delicia is a great song on that album if you're looking for something fun for the summer. And Gap 2 Smile is really great. Every time I hear it, I think of Chelsea from season 3 of The White Lotus, if you watch that. So anyway, great album. Highly recommend. I think that would be a really great summer jam for everybody.
Tara, you have to share your Spotify playlist with us, please.
Yeah.
I love finding new music.
Well, and Tara's very curated with her fashion, so I can see her music overlay with her fashion. It's coming right out right now. I see it.
It all comes together.
Yeah. Darcy, are you playing along? Is there a song in the summer either?
Yeah, I'm a pop girly. So, I'm listening to Benson Boone and Sabrina Carpenter.
Benson Boone's incredible.
Yeah. Fun and light in the summer.
That's awesome. My 9-year-old son sings that Benson Boone anthem. I'm not even going to try to sing it, but it's so funny because he walks around and he croons it with what my wife has on the radio. And I'm like, where'd you learn this song? So, Mom plays it when I'm driving around. So, yeah, it's very funny. Awesome. Michele?
Yeah, so I'm going to age myself, but I have had the same summer go-to songs since the 1900s. And it's Delight, Groove is in the Heart. I cannot not dance when that song is on. It's one of my all-time favorites. Right up there, the second would be Run DMC. It's Tricky. So those are you're in the car.
Oh my gosh, Michele.
Trip. Now, on an everyday basis, I love like Ray LaMontagne and Matt Broussard and the Avett Brothers. And I love the more alternative stuff. But Groove is in the Heart. Now I'm like,
I know you can't not dance.
You can't mention Hey Tricky without... You can't mention Hey Tricky without thinking of the scene from Road Trip, right? When they go to the fraternity house.
Crickets over here.
Crickets.
Oh, never mind. All right.
Yeah.
I might be a little younger then. And Ange, are you going to play?
I'm embarrassed to say this, but yesterday I was thinking that I can't remember if I ate breakfast or what I did 30 minutes ago, but I can remember every word to Salt and Peppa's What a Man, or anything by Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg in the 90s. Like I grew up in the 90s, and it was like a lot of this like hardcore rap and hip hop. So that's my jam. And I know every word. like to this day, like LL Cool J, I can completely sing that, but I can't tell you what I did this morning.
I just saw a little clip on Instagram with RZA on the Stephen Colbert show. I mean, he's from Wu-Tang Clan, still spitting bars, like
Yes.
so good. And I just recently just on Sunday, listened to A Tribe Called Quest. So 90s rap is like
Right? It was, and it
Forever and
reminds you
ever.
of summer. Yeah.
Legendary. Yeah.
forever. Yes. My friend and my husband and I have agreed that the best music has already been made.
Well, there's some truth to that. And my son who's turning 17 in a couple days, he does not like anything made recently because he thinks auto-tune and technology have ruined the real creativity. And so he was on a mission. We told him that in the crawl space of our house was a big box of my wife's combined CD collection. I know vinyl's cool and everything, but we have CDs because that was our era. And he was going through a box of my stuff, and he was going through, and he knows a little bit about music, and he's like, Dad, Mighty Mighty Boss Stones, DMX, Tom Petty. He's like, you were confused, right?
No, you had taste.
But you had a sample, you had to go out of your way and pick it, and so I laughed at it. But so he picked up Tom Petty and Stone Temple Pilots, and he's got a 2015 Honda Accord, and he's putting it in his car because he has a CD player. He's like, where can we use these things, these defunct things? And so the songs of summer, at least hanging out with Jude, he loves Tom Petty now, The Waiting, American Girl, all that stuff. So stuff that sort of I consider classic kind of feels fresh again because I'm like experiencing it through my kids' ears on this stuff. So, and then Stone Temple Pilots, he's like, Dad, you like these guys because they were just a less cooler version of Pearl Jam, and because the sound
Oh my
there.
gosh, that's not
But
Is he
true.
they
listening
have
to
some great
Core,
stuff.
or is he listening to Purple? If he gets into Purple, you start to hear Stone Temple. See, I'm going to get weird if we
No.
keep going down
It's
this
a completely
music hole.
different
So, but I
podcast.
love the STP, flies in the Vaseline, whatever, right? And so, anyway, I wanted to bring this up as a point of levity because you go through all this stuff. We're all driving around, going back and forth. We're not listening to my podcast. We're listening to these songs. I want to make sure you have a little fun with it. And again, so. It's really funny because you asked my 14-year-old daughter, it's Gracie Abrams and all that stuff like that. That's on our mind, right? Or a SZA or whatever, right? So I look at this and we're trying all to be cool in our own way, and it's a lot of fun. So anyway,
Yeah, this
thanks
was
for
not
playing
on my
along.
bingo card, by the way, for today's conversation.
But this is the
So
best ever.
Come on. Okay. Take a deep breath. Take a break. We're coming back now.
Oh,
So
back to work.
let's-
Okay.
Back to serious.
Let's reset the table here. This is Marketing Matchup. This is the season-ending episode of season 1. It's been a great season, a lot of great people. Again, we have Darcy O'Brien, who's Chief Marketing Officer at Simon Quick. Angela Giombetti, who's a Chief Marketing Officer at Wealthspire Advisors. Michele Welsh, who's a CMO at Verdence Capital out of Baltimore. And then Terra McBride from Prime Capital Financial. You ladies have been awesome so far, but we're about to hit what I think is probably the it topic for this year because unavoidable, it's clobbering over the head. I feel like I wake up in the morning, I see AI when my eyeballs open up. And so this is an area where there's so much to tackle. There are all the tools we have in terms of automating lead gen. We have tools in terms of helping with creativity, like do I need a headline for this email I'm sending to a client, whatever. You can use it for all different things. It's also creeping in terms of how we're being found as firms, right? And we talk about the AEO. Some people call it answer engine optimization. Some people call it generative engine optimization. I think someone said earlier, search everywhere optimization. It's all the things, right? So I'm going to start this off. And Ange, forgive me because I go out of my way to try to think of something saucy because whenever you're in the conversation.
Yay.
I have said earlier on stage, on podcast, that I don't believe that you should be paying money for a Wiser Advisor or Smartass or referral engines like that if you're not going to play the testimonial Google review game. I've now revised that statement in saying you cannot be serious about AEO or GEO unless you have testimonials and Google reviews, whether you're Wealth Tender, Testimonial IQ. There is facts that are coming out that are showing that the authoritativeness, the client quotes mean more that you can imagine in terms of showing up there. So I will start there. Who's playing the game with AI? Who's playing the game with reviews and testimonials? And how is that formulated into your strategy going forward? And it's okay to say we're just getting started. Anyone want to play along?
I think we're all just getting started. I mean, like I said,
Okay.
I'm doing this webinar tomorrow. And I'm like practicing in the car because you could go, it's like a pinball. It could go in so many different directions. Like I can tell you what marketing is doing and then how that could translate to how you think about content strategy. We could talk about compliance because that's an entire segment. I mean, we've had people that are starting to like dabble in AI generated images. Let's reel that back. So there's this moment of time of like, we need to get in front of advisors so they can be excited about AI, but remember compliance. That's just one section. And then we're not even talking about tools that are available to you. And then as a CMO, the resources that I have now, I think, wow, I remember I'm going to date myself, but I remember there was a moment where it was like 10, 12 years ago where Michael Kitces and Bill Winterberg, it was like dueling nerds, and they were talking about big data. Like big data was the future. Big data is coming. Whoever can harness big data is going to win at life. And I remember at the time we were like, okay, that's really cool, but what does that translate to? What are we doing with this big data? And now fast forward 13, 14 years later, it's everything. Like the data is everything. And these tools that we have at our fingertips and the prompts that we put into these chats and these tools, it's all data points. And how we like customize the client journey, the prospect journey, all of that is like intertwined. So it's like you have this big ball of rubber bands, and which ones am I pulling off first to like organize it? That's how I'm thinking about it. And it's interesting you bring up testimonials because I've talked to a few. We're in the process of redoing our website. And I agree. This is the time to take advantage of how those embedded testimonials look. People are nervous, but it's interesting because, you put these tools through the ringer with compliance, and these vendors have checked the boxes. They know what they're doing to make sure that this is fair and it's presented in a way that is 100% compliant. It's just taking the first step. So I completely agree with that not so hot take, Joe. I think you could have gotten saucier, but I agree with you totally.
So, but it's interesting when you look at that, the idea of referrals. People are coming online looking for you. They need validation. So you get those testimonials, those reviews. It makes a lot of sense. But then we talk about how everything needs to play together. Well, those reviews and testimonials also play into how you show up in answer engine optimization, right? And then you look at what are they grading on, they're accessing the areas that they're allowed to study from. And so some of these have agreements with the places we all want to be quoted and featured as advisors and professionals, the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, New York Times. So if you're not there, and so it starts that conversation about how do you really win at each one. Each one of these things almost requires you to be active in the other in order to get a max impact. And so again, that maybe that's the hot take is you can't play unless you're ready to play everything. I don't know, but Darcy, your end of things. Have you all thought about both the AI tools and enablement in terms of what you're letting your staff use or what you're using? And is there, like what you said with LinkedIn, or is there a training component involved?
Yeah, great question. I know that our firm is looking at certain tools for advisors. On the marketing team specifically, we use ChatGPT all the time. This will come as no surprise to anyone. When you're creating content, it's your best friend. As we think about ways to use it going forward, I'm very curious as to what some of those other applications will be, right? Like I'm finding that ChatGPT is my right-hand man, but there are still like manual processes that we're doing that like a robot could do, but which robot and how do we teach it what to do, right? Those are the big questions I'd really like to see answers to. And I think vendors, like that's really the big opportunity in our space. Who are the vendors selling products to financial advisory firms, or to marketing specific tools that can help us with some of those manual tasks, because that's really the broader question. And like, how does that integrate with like a Microsoft suite? My understanding is that the big companies, big banks, et cetera, like they're building their own, they're doing this all in-house. But for firms of a smaller size, I think we're going to be really looking to the players in the space that are servicing essentially small businesses.
And then, Michele, you mentioned agentic AI earlier in the conversation. It tells me you've been sniffing around more than a little bit. Walk us through what the AI experience is currently at Verdence.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as so exciting and sort of the Wild West that you just need to wrap around, guardrails, I think, as we mentioned in an earlier conversation. Um, and I have to go back to when Microsoft Word first came out in the industry, and everyone said, "Oh, it's going to replace all the graphic designers." And we've all seen the reckless Comic Sans used, and that did not play out. So think about it this way: so AI is a tool, and you're the conductor of that tool. And I'm going to make that tool do something completely different than someone without a marketing background. I'm going to use that tool differently than a lawyer would use it. And but we can all prompt it. It's just the intelligence of the prompt. It's the smart, intelligent prompt that gives you the results. But also understanding that it's not plug and play. It's not copy and paste. It's human in the middle, human at the beginning, human in the middle, and human at the end, but it can accelerate what you're doing. And there's so many different applications, so many different tools out there, is that it's easy just to chase them all. So we've kind of we're starting to develop governance around it. But as I think about that, I have to put the marketing overlay and how are we going to make this memorable for people to want to follow? So we call it the AAI, acceleration, um, accuracy, and innovation. So acceleration, can it help you do your job faster? Accuracy, can it just double check the wording or the spelling, or can it be your proofreader for you? And then innovation, if you're looking for ideas, start with a prompt of what you're thinking, or start with an outline of what you're thinking, and it will help you amplify ideas and help you think of things that you're like, oh, that wouldn't have occurred to me, but I fed all the information into it. So that's just sort of the baseline of things. And once you figure out how can it improve what we're doing, then you've got a function for it. And when you look at the function, you say, okay, what am I doing today that I don't want to be doing? One of that is scraping data for either my competitors or some of the social media stats that I have to pull in and dashboards. I want to build an agent to do that. So that's one of the things. When we're talking about the Verdence Way, how do we train all of our team members the Verdence Way? Well, the answer is you kind of empower an agent to have all of that information, so the agent kind of presents it specifically and accurately for everyone to ask it natural language questions, and it can be kind of your tutor for either onboarding, or if you forget how to do something that you don't do very often, you ask your own personal agent that sits on your desktop. So that's sort of the goal of that. But I think it's all coming together. It's as we're developing using AI for marketing, as we're developing it for an automation workflow or agentic AI, it all comes together. But the basic rules apply, and that's it will not replace us. It will not replace us. What did I hear recently? AI cannot give a cold handshake to one of your clients who's in need or went through a really difficult time. So there will always be a place for advisors and advice. It's just a matter of how do you figure it out from a strategy perspective, not a shiny new tool. How do we use it as a strategy to help us improve, be more profitable, be more efficient, help our clients, and add more resources for clients that we wouldn't normally have the time to do.
And Michele, one thing I'll say is I think it's really important. You talk about solving some of the industry problems, whether it's not enough marketing talent, not enough advisors. I think to a certain degree, it will make the understaffed teams, whether they're advisors or marketers or whatever within the organization, have a little more efficiency and productivity, which I think is really important, right? And ideally allowing those relationships, the strategy, the thoughtfulness, the audience know-how and empathy stay with us while enabling those teams that might be scrapping for more talent, at least buy some time, some wiggle room, right? But Terra, I know you have a lot to say on this, so I want to get to you. What's AI utilization like at Prime in terms of tools, in terms of how it plays out in marketing, et cetera?
Well, just kind of piggybacking off of what Michele said about humans won't be replaced in this, two things. One, does anybody remember how robo-advisors were going to cannibalize all of our clients? Like,
That
here we are.
panic,
I know.
straight panic.
still exists, but it's not cannibalizing our advisors. But the other thing is that just recently, I think it was last week, I asked Siri when AI was going to conquer humans. And essentially, she said that by 2035, AI will be billions of times more intelligent than humans. So just enjoy the next decade, and then it'll be Terminator time.
No, Siri said, let me ask ChatGPT and I'll get back to
Right.
you.
Right. They're just like informing each other. So we're at the very beginning stages of this, just like you said, Joe, but we are using obviously ChatGPT, just like everybody else, to accelerate the work we're doing in marketing. And one specific application that I've used ChatGPT for that I have found very effective is that we've launched a magazine. We had our first publication come out earlier this year. Our second one is coming out in a month and a half. And what I do is I interview the people who we're featuring on a Google Meet. And I ask for permission to record it and get it and take a transcript. I make sure that they know that it's just for me. I'm not going to share it anywhere. It's not for public consumption. And then what I do is I take that transcript and put it into ChatGPT and then give it a very clear, like, detailed prompt on the tone that I want it to have, the person that I've interviewed, what the article is for, very, very specific prompt. And something that would have taken me hours to write, because that's just, you go around and around and around, you write, then you come back to it, takes me 5 minutes to get something spit out, and it's in my voice. It's in their voice. It pulls quotes from our conversation because it's all based on something that really happened. Now, there's some polishing and there's some checking that makes sure it all sounds right. But in the end, I was very pleased with the output that ChatGPT gave based on the prompt and the transcript. So that's something that's a very real application that we have used several times. Something that we're starting to explore having conversations around is our advisor meetings with clients or prospects. How can we take the AI generated notes that they have in these meetings and use those notes to scrape and add the data that they're getting from those conversations into Salesforce or whatever CRM we're using, and not just the fields that are like first name, last name, email address, et cetera, but as part of that natural conversation that we're having with each other, their interests, their fears, the things that they find most important to them, scraping that information and having it in a notes section or an interests, using that conversation to get additional data so that the advisor doesn't have to go back after the meeting, enter the notes into the CRM, take the time doing that. Again, going back to this idea of accelerating the work that we're doing, expediting the work we're doing, and simplifying it for all of us. We see some real opportunities with AI helping our advisors, enabling them to have more productive conversations and spending less time on data entry where appropriate. So there's a lot of opportunity with AI, I think, outside of marketing, which gets into this idea of where are you showing up, how are you showing up, everything that you were talking about, Joe. But when we're talking about tactical day-to-day applications that really help us be a more efficient business, that's where I start to see some really exciting things happening.
Well, I think it's also important when, I can, for example, when I think about where marketing and advisor can partner in terms of addressing certain things using AI, one of the big things I think about is when you have a new client come on board, eventually, if you ask enough questions, you figure out why they needed an advisor at the time. Either they had an advisor and they were terrible, life event, and you know what that why is, right? We've seen, and we started using it in sales training with wholesalers for investment firms or advisors, like how do you teach that next generation, that 22 to 35-year-old aspiring advisor, how to be able to approach client situations? You could take existing client situations and model through, like, what are you going to ask them? And AI can be such a powerful tool that, and because of the increasing capabilities, you can have different responses. Now let me answer this question in a compassionate way. How would you answer this in an authority? And so you're giving live read-throughs for these people who are trying to become better in how they want to sound these tools. And it's amazing because it's not going to replace the advisor, but you start thinking about, okay, how do I quickly, objectively in some cases, examine how I'm coming across in my communications, and how can I connect the dots between what the advisor is trying to solve for in terms of, hey, I want to get more clients, I want to be more relatable, with the marketing objective of making sure you're putting information out there that speaks to those things. So it could become a virtuous circle in terms of how it impacts those things using it. And it's not just marketing has to use it or advisors need it for practice management. It becomes a philosophy in terms of the creative applications of it, but also the individual problem solving and tactics of it. So Darcy, coming back to you for a second, when you think about your firm, one of the things I think about, because to me, you all started from like a family office background, right? And to me, when people talk about family office, it's like very bespoke. You have to be very nuanced and specific in terms of how you're handling things. Is it possible in your mind to leverage like the high-end benefits of AI tools and things like that with an audience that might really command a very sophisticated, nuanced point of connection? Do you feel like that's something you can work with?
Yeah, I mean, I think two of our key differentiators. One is like very sophisticated, advice and strategies that are appropriate for high net worth and ultra high net worth families, as well as that really high touch service model that we offer to our clients. We have an advisor to client ratio of 1 to 30, right? Our advisors, we like to say, on a bad day in the markets, they have time to call every single one of their clients if they need to. And that's really core to our service offering. And so it does seem almost like counterintuitive, right? You might think, oh, well, then you would never want to refer to a robot. But I think the opposite is actually true, right? Our teams have spent so much time defining our onboarding process and our service models and all of these complicated processes, um, especially, filling out subdocs for various investments, right? These things take time. And so the advent of AI, we're really poised to take advantage of it in these situations, because the more of these tasks that we can offload to an AI tool, the more our teams can actually focus on developing those relationships, offering that high touch service model. So I think it's going to be it already has been, but will continue to be a critical tool for our firm.
And I think one of the things I think about too, and it goes back to Michelle's point about agentic AI, for example, I think as consumers become more comfortable going to ChatGPT or Perplexity, whatever, ask questions and get starting points for information, there's a more natural bridge for digital engagement where they already feel like they're getting answers to certain critical problems. Well, the idea of the next step would be in like agentic AI solution. And I don't know how many of you were at Edge saw what Tom from Financial broke out with Finn, like the advisor, the agentic AI advisor assistant. And I can see that being the sort of solution that comes out of helping like digitally migrate people from like, I have an inquiry on ChatGPT to stepping in and sort of finding a level of engagement for an advisor. But do you think it's going to be possible from how your firms market themselves to rely on that level of digital interfacing to actually really connect the dots? Because at what point does the advisor have to step in? And again, I know we said, we heard with robo-advisors, advisors were going to face the future, but it didn't play out that way. But do you see a critical practical role at that level when you start talking about the possible migration of people down that path from, ChatGPT to agents to live humans? Any thoughts on that?
Well, look at the app. Like, if people prefer to use an app to order Domino's pizza, to make inquiries. I think whereas everyone's time is stretched so thin, if it's a simple inquiry, it's really just taking that friction out of the process and allowing them to get to point A to point D or E faster. So it may not create the relationship, but it'll certainly pave the way and make things easier for that person to get in touch with you or to ask a simple question. And, for Darcy, she's poised in a great way that she could really give that the ability to, just based on their data, to know how to lead someone down a path. And then you decide as the orchestrator of the agent, at what point do I want to jump into this process? When is enough?
Good perspective.
I think I start drawing these like imaginary lines based on generation and technology. And I'm surprised to this day when I'm walking through the New York office how people will call for just the most mundane. They just have a question, and this was to them the easiest way to get to somebody was to just pick up the phone and call. Versus somebody like me, I'm like what Michele says. I want somebody to just deliver the Chinese to the door. I don't want to have to get out of my pajamas. I don't want to have to interface with anyone. And just watching like younger generations, like my stepson will say, "Oh, well, just ask Siri." Like that was not an option for me 5 years ago. Like if I had this question and I thought, I wonder where I could find, oh, well, just ask Siri. And that's kind of the direction we're going. So it's sort of at this point in time for us anyway, we're catering definitely to different. We need to be, like Terra said, be everywhere at once, everywhere, everything all at once.
Any other comments on that or before we move along?
I mean, I just think that we're still not sure how people are going to engage with AI yet. There's a lot of trepidation around it. I mean, I'm even seeing some digital fatigue, even with my daughter's generation, where they're kind of pulling back from it. So I think there's a lot to it just changes so quickly. But, I keep going back to the idea of robo-advisors or like when websites first started becoming a thing, like people wouldn't have thought, who could have conceived that you would have to have a website to run a business when it was 1992. Like nobody would have thought that. But now if you don't have a website, do you even exist?
Right. Who are you?
How do I validate your existence and make sure that you're a reliable person or entity to reach out to? So I think that there's just so much more that because it's in such an infant stage that we can't even begin to imagine the applications with it. And I think that if we're just open to the idea that this is going to evolve and that people are going to start to connect with it and just watching how do we connect with it? How do our kids connect with it? What are they starting to expect from technology? Then we can start to adapt as marketers around that.
Yeah, and I think the more AI we use too, people are seeking authenticity, seeking personal connection too. So we're always going to strive for balance, no matter what's thrown at us. So I think there'll be a bigger need for that kind of authenticity too.
Yeah, and still at the end of the day, there's the trust factor. Again, when you finally turn over the keys to your account, you want to be able to feel like there's somebody on the other end who can be accountable and responsible and for what you're doing. So we talk about sort of digital fatigue, and it made me think of, the other day, I'm going through, in my office at headquarters, I have these 2 filing cabinets, and I haven't opened up in years. We're digital only, really, right? And I'm like, what's in this? And I forgot that we used to always get copies of all the publications that we pursue for our clients, like hard copies, Money Magazine, like U.S. News and World Report when that was still a magazine, Financial Planning, Financial, all the trade pubs, right? And so I'm like, why do I have all these? And there's a subset of them that were saved because I would have sticky notes where one of our clients was featured or there's something I wanted to remember for later. And literally, this cabinet probably has not been open for, 48 to 60 months. But I was pulling through seeing what it was. There's something from 2014 where the article writer was opining, what clients are looking for advisors that venture into social media. This is like when Facebook was like the it thing before Instagram, right? And so, it was interesting. I wrote this down because the qualities that they thought were most important in terms of how they come across in social media show up somewhere else today. Clients want a sense of your expertise, understand your experience. They want someone who's authoritative in terms of really, really coming across like they know their stuff, and then trustworthiness. I map that against exactly what we've put together for an upcoming webinar we're doing for our clients, and one of the findings was, what are the characteristics of content you need to have to maximize your presence for answer engine optimization? And literally, those were the 4 same things. So I laugh. It's a total different iteration of what clients and advisors are seeking, but the underpinnings of what we need to be as a personal brand, as a corporate brand, whatever, are there. And so I bring this up because not only is it a funny story, but also at the same time it gets to the point of we're arriving at a point in time where how we show up in these answer engines matters as much as what someone says about us at a country club or an event or your kid's school. I mean, the referral chain, the SEO chain, the answer engine chain, they're all playing a role now. How have you all thought about that? Like to what degree have you sunk more than a passing effort into it? Is this something that you feel like is a sort of A-list priority in the next 12 months, something you'll get to? I'm curious, characterize for me. And Darcy, I'll pick on you first. Where's your team at with addressing this big opportunity?
Yeah, in terms of, referrals and how that translates today.
And making sure you show up
Yeah.
in Perplexity and ChatGPT and...
Yeah, I think it's really, really interesting. We were bringing up some of the elements earlier, and one of the approaches we've been taking is really sophisticating our digital strategy this year. And so word of mouth for us has always been really strong. That's not uncommon in our industry, but it's something that we are really proud of, and yet we want to grow beyond. And we've seen a ton of success this year using Google Performance Max strategies for our ad campaigns. Really, the goal is to get our name in front of the people who don't already know us. And we're in the very early stages of that process, right? It takes time to build trust. And some of those elements that you named, right, from 2014, they're still just as relevant today. And that, I think, just goes to show that there are certain core values that are immutable across space and time. And trust in our industry is one of them. And so we're just building it in a new environment, in a digital space, in an AI adapted world, trying to get people to know, like, and trust you so they'll want to do business with you.
Terra, you look like you're ready to pounce on something. What are your thoughts in terms of...
That's just my natural state of being.
Always on 12 hours a day, we heard. Let's go.
So I would actually say that, yes, the digital part is important. And I think it might have been on the last podcast or it was on one of the panel discussions that we were on. I can't remember, but AI is like the new shiny thing. And for us, yes, it is part of our strategy. It's definitely something that we're talking about, but we're actually addressing our referral program with real intensity in the next few months because it remains our most productive channel for growth. Referrals. And so we want to have an exceptional referral program that allows our advisors, it enables our advisors, it makes them confident. Asking for more business from somebody you have business with, I'm not in sales. Thank goodness, because I would be like so embarrassed to ask. So I know it's not easy, right? So trying to put in the knowledge base and the tools that our advisors need to get educated on what are the best ways to ask for referrals. It's not, hey, if you know somebody, let them know that I'm looking for people. Like that's it. You're not going to get anything from that. There are real ways to ask for referrals that are effective. They've been proven, they've been researched. And so we're trying to set up a referral program that it enables our advisors in a way that maybe they didn't realize that they could be. So it's kind of like what's old is new again for us. And again, AI is definitely out there. It's important and we're focusing on it as well. But I think the tried and true stuff, really getting great at those things is just as important for us.
So Terra, can I challenge you for a second?
Sure.
So when your friends say, hey, go try out this Italian restaurant, do you just go book a reservation and go sight unseen?
No.
Where do you go? What do you do
go
next?
online, but you're talking about a transaction. You're not talking about a relationship.
Sure.
So the way that you're at that, but you're thinking of asking for a referral in the way that most people ask for referrals, which is like, oh, I have this guy. If you want to meet him, you should go talk to him. And that's not the way you're supposed to ask for referrals, right? Advisors really need to set it up so that they're approaching their clients in a way that's like, hey, I'm looking for more people just like you. Do you know anybody? Oh yeah, I know somebody. Would you be willing to give me a warm introduction? I'd love to take them out to you and your friend out to coffee or whatever, to have a conversation, just to get to know them, to see if we connect, right? So there are other ways to do it. And yes, you're still going to get validated on social media, on the website, all that sort of stuff. Does the advisor have videos out there? But when we're talking about a transaction, that's one thing. When you're talking about a relationship, it's something completely different.
Got it. Well, I think transaction and relationships are different. I think one of the things I look at would be when people find out information, we all have different impulses. In my own household, if we have a friend that raves about, using that restaurant example, raves with a restaurant, they're like, yeah, and my wife's like, let's go. We got to try that place out. Laura loved it. Let's have it, right? I'm like, well, let's check it out. Like, I want to do a deeper dive, and I'll look around, like, how easy is it to get a reservation and all the different things, right? I just take a different approach. And that's just our household.
Yeah.
So you think about that, and one of the questions becomes, I'm always looking for, how do I enable my clients to solve these issues? What can you be doing to make it sure? So if it's a focus on referrals, what do you back end there? Are they validating it with what they find on search? Is it something very specific to a topic? Maybe you're gearing your referral program around making sure that people in the medical community know that there's this, whatever it might be, and maybe it becomes about creating the messaging. I mean, there's so many different next steps there. But I would say that if part of your audience, even that referral world, are looking for that validation or second point of reference, maybe it is the testimonials and case studies. Maybe it is making sure you show up in these places. And I think it goes back to the point of, we're so fragmented. Even if there's other things that are a priority, we sort of have to think about what's augmenting around those priorities in order to be able to fully sort of capture the opportunity that's in front of us today. So that's what I was challenging you on. Well, there's two things really amazing, because going back to the shiny object point, you look at people, the stats out there. Early this year, I posted about this on my LinkedIn. Only 82% of traffic online for advisor firms has come through Google search, right? As if it's no longer relevant. This is after ChatGPT, right? It's still huge. I'm sure most long-standing, sort of sticky new client relationships probably come involved, at least more than half of them, with somebody that knows the firm and gave a referral or has a professional connection, right? You're going to have a preponderance. So those don't go away. It's sort of, how do you nibble around the edges to complete things and stay ahead of the curve in terms of where the puck might be going. I think one of you used the line, drawing that line for generations. There's going to come a point where, for a certain subset of clients, that maybe this stuff is way more relevant than the core client opportunity today. So anyway, just something to think about. I lost my train of thought of where I wanted to go next on this, but looks like we lost Darcy there for a second.
She waved. I wonder if she had a hard stop.
Oh, she sent us a message.
The
Oh,
chat.
did she?
Oh, bummer. I would have given her proper due. Well, we are getting close to the end of it, and so this is actually the point in our conversation where, like we always do a marketing matchup, we give a chance for a parting shot. So I'm asking all of you, as you think about where you want to leave your audience for the rest of this year, what would you be thinking about? Give us your best. And so while you're all thinking, I'll give you one last little story from Gregory FCA land. We talked about AI a lot. I think some of you know that we try to eat our own cooking, and we built a purpose-built tool called CrisisCom for crisis communications. And we launched this platform using the AI tools. And as some of you said earlier, AI is not going to replace the advisor. We don't expect our clients just to go log in, put some information into CrisisCom and have their fully executed crisis communication plan. But we want to build a level of efficiency and assurance that it's not going to be an arduous process to respond to things. And I think more and more, whether it's with marketing or in terms of the advisor side, we're going to see these tools that are built to sort of reduce the friction in terms of possible pain points with AI. And I think my one takeaway is, I think the next wave is going to be these things that solve for specific things using AI purpose-built tools. So whether it's, I think someone said earlier about matching up presentations, a personalized presentation, things like that bring it together. So just something to think about as you sort of look at the landscape. With that, parting shot time. And Michele, give us what you got.
Gosh, there were so many great takeaways. Actually, I was trying to discreetly take notes because I'm getting a lot of great tips to take home with me too. I think in terms of just parting thoughts for people who are listening, and that is, there's a lot of smart people on this call, and they're doing a lot of really advanced things. So don't let that intimidate you. Don't let that discourage you. Start with something small. Start with something really, really small. If that means, you kind of like making videos, go make a video. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you like writing, or if you like, if you're really good at social media, just start one small thing. And if you start it today, a year from now, you're going to be so thankful because you've got them 365 days of new content, new data, new touch points that you can offer for clients or prospective clients. And then, offering that not necessarily the thought leadership, but just your ability to help people shines through when you just present your authentic self, understand who you are, and just take that first step forward.
Terrific. Angela.
I was going to ask ChatGPT for my parting shot. Just kidding. Just kidding.
We should do that.
But first, I need the
I'm
transcript.
on it.
I think that I don't know who said it, but there is this return to pre-tech. Like, what's great about the tech is that it can be behind the scenes. Like Michele said, you can't just pick one thing, one tool, something that you like to use. They've made so many tools easy, so it isn't this production anymore. But I would say that it's never been a better time to be human in this industry. It's never been a better time to be an individual with a unique voice and a unique message and a very personal why. We went through this era of like being authentic. Like it was like, what? I get to be authentic? I don't have to know all the answers. I get to that was such a great moment in our marketing evolution. And now I just feel like now we've got these great tech tools. Like Michele said, you don't have to do everything. That's what we're here doing for you 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
But it's never been a better time, I think, to be human in this industry.
Awesome. And Terra.
I'm not vastly different from Michele or Ange. I mean, I just kept thinking about how you were paging through your old magazines, Joe. And by the way, I wish that I had kept all of my Sassy and YMs because I had like stacks and stacks of them. And I wish I could go back to them right now. In the end, the core tenets of what makes a great advisor will always be the same. And it goes back to being authentic, trustworthy, making real connections with the people who you're trying to serve. And so technology is really great for expediting your work, for helping you get from, as Michele said, point A to point C or D faster. But don't allow technology to supersede your humanness. Like, I do think that Michele and Andrew are right on. The authenticity and the true connection comes from the actual person, not from an AI bot.
Awesome. Well, this was tremendous. The marketing matchup super session, first time we've ever done it this way. We conclude season 1. Thanks for listening along with us. Again, many thanks to Darcy O'Brien, Angela Giombetti, Michele Welsh, Terra McBride. You're all awesome. Looking forward to seeing you all out and about, and enjoy the rest of your summer.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks for listening to Marketing Matchup, a production of Gregory. If you like what you heard, please listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.